What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the Poppin' Curbs podcast. Today, we have a very special episode featuring you all. I love these. These are my favorite. We are going to hear from the listeners and get some meet and greet stories. I can't wait to hear if they're good, if they're bad, what band. I open it up, any band at any point in time, good or bad, and we're going to hear from the listeners on their meet and greet experiences. This is a direct follow-up to the last episode where we did a deep dive on band meet and greets. We talked about the history of them, the old school way of meeting bands. We talked about how that has evolved over time. We talked about the band's perspective of these, the fans' perspective, my opinion on them, what I feel like they should include at this point in time, and what's fair. I hope at minimum it made you think a little bit, because I think at the end of the day, if you're supporting a band or an artist trying to make a living out on the road, I'm all for it. Up to a certain point. I do think there is a threshold when you get into thousands and thousands of dollars where it's kind of, I don't know about all that. So I opened it up and I asked folks to record their story. And the easiest way to do that is to record a voice memo on your phone. So you can just bust out the voice memo on iPhone. It's easy. Android, I have no clue. You are on your own. Record your story and then just email it to poppincurbspodcast@gmail.com. And it's a nice little file that I can drop into the podcast, and we're going to hear from you all. And by the way, you can do that at any point in time. If you ever have a question or comment or topic or whatever, feel free to hit me up there or DM me. It's all good. We've got a handful of submissions we're going to listen to. I have not listened to these, so I have no clue what band, what it's about, good or bad. So I can't wait to listen to these. We're going to discuss them afterwards. And then there's also, I think, a few folks who had submitted their story via email or DM that I will read. And we're going to have a fun little episode here, hopefully getting some rad meet and greet stories, or at least funny ones. I hope none are too terrible, because like I mentioned on the last episode, you never want to pay for stuff and then just end up bummed, but it'll be interesting to see what we have here. So let's kick things off. Let's start with Adrian.
Hey, my name is Adrian. I'm a millennial from Georgia, and I have seen Blink-182, Boxcar Racer, and Angels and Airwaves lots of times over the last 20 years. And I've actually never met Blink-182. The venue was always so huge, it was hard to meet them. However, when I saw Boxcar Racer, I want to say it was like 2002. I have a ticket stub I'll attach, but I saw Tom and Travis backstage. I'm one of those girls who will like stand outside of the bus just waiting for hours after the show just to maybe meet the band. And that's just who I am. Travis came out. He met with every single fan. He signed every t-shirt, every ticket stub, everything. He was so cool. I've actually met Travis organically, like at a Starbucks once in real life, and he's just as cool after the show as he is just in real life. So he is awesome. Okay, after Boxcar Racer, Travis signed everything, but I saw Tom. Okay, Tom is like hiding outside. He was in a doorway kind of near the venue so that the fans couldn't go over there. But he had a giant bottle of wine he was drinking straight out of, and he was on the phone, and it looked really important. Like he was deep in a conversation, and he just didn't seem like he wanted anything to do with the fans. But it's fine, whatever. Like I saw him in real life, you know. And then I saw Angels and Airwaves after that 2 times, and both times Tom kind of just zoomed past the fans onto the tour bus. And I know technically I should be buying the whole meet and greet thing. I just don't do that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm old school. I like to sit by the tour bus like a psycho. Anyway, no, Tom just didn't seem interested in the fans. And he just, I don't know if he has anxiety or if he just doesn't like that or what, but After the first time seeing Tom, I didn't expect him to come mix and mingle, and nope, he never did. So those are my stories of how I met Blink-182, Boxcar Racer, and Angels and Airwaves.
Those are some great stories. I already love this so much. There's so much to talk about here. The bus thing. It's not like I'm anti-bus. I'm just anti-bus at this stage in my life. I just feel more like I'm not waiting around that long. I mean, it can be hours. I remember waiting outside one time for Alkaline Trio in the freezing cold, just hoping that they would come out. They never came out. I feel like I stood there for 2 hours and then had a 2 hour drive home. And I was like, fuck this. I'm never doing that again. But back in the day, as we talked about in the last episode, I mean, that was really one of your best chances, if not your only chance. Long before the days of expensive meet and greets and such, it was before at the venue, after at the venue, or one of the things that I did not mention on the last episode that I probably should have is formal CD signings at a record shop or around an album release. Those were very common back in the day, but for the sake of the episode, I was more or less thinking at the venue. So to hear that Travis came out, I mean, first off, getting to meet them during the boxcar era, that's rad. To hear that Travis came out and was kind, it's interesting. I have a similar experience with Travis. Almost forgot about it. 2013, Hollywood Palladium, the Untitled anniversary shows. So night one, I flew out to LA, stoked to catch my favorite band. They're celebrating 10 years of Untitled, playing the album front to back. And after the show, we waited out in the parking lot. And similar to your experience, Travis came out. And it's funny because he was holding his daughter, who was super young at the time. And I thought for sure he was just going to walk to the car and dip out because she was asleep. And I was thinking, oh, there's no chance he's going to come over and say hi. He puts Alabama in his truck, and then he walks over to a fairly small group of us that were hanging around, signed everything. I don't think anybody had decent camera phones. Selfies and all that stuff wasn't a huge thing yet, but he signed everything, was saying what's up, and was super, super kind. That was the first time I had met Travis. It was a huge deal. So that's rad to hear. The Starbucks thing, meeting him organically, see, that's what people dream of, but it's like, when is that actually going to happen? It did for you, but banking on that, if you really want to meet someone, is really tough. But that's cool to hear. I always wonder what celebrities or famous people, what do they put on their Starbucks cup down for their name or whatever? Like, is Travis going by Jim? Does he put Travis? Does he put something crazy? It's kind of funny to me. Talking about Tom, I've seen Tom multiple times where it's interesting. And again, because at their level, what they deal with on a daily basis, it's scary, it's sketchy. I wouldn't want it. And I think one thing that you have to keep in mind as fans is a lot of them have been dealing with this for 25 years and you get hardened to it. So I think if you run into Tom, I mean, I've seen it a million times. If you run into Tom, he'll be cool with you out on the street. He'll have a conversation with you if you run into him at a store. I mean, the times that I've talked to Tom in more of a natural setting, it's fine. Like, he's cool as fuck. I think when you get into almost having to be herded through a line of fans or at the venue, I just think Tom's a little bit more private and hardened to it. It's tough because I don't think at his core he wants to be an asshole about it. It's just he doesn't want to meet the fans right there. And it's interesting because even amongst Blink, Mark will go out of his way to walk out front and say hi. Travis, for the most part, will do the same. Now, Travis is probably a little bit harder to catch these days, but back in the day, I mean, really, Travis was the one I had met multiple times before the others. Tom is easily the hardest to meet. And I wish I could put it another way, but it's like, yeah, I think at the end of the day, Tom will hide or like run from fans. And it's one of those things where it's like, unless you've been in his shoes and been sketched out and have had stalkers and can't go anywhere and can't walk around in the mall without being recorded, I don't know. It's just weird. So I hope folks that have had that happen to them from him don't feel bummed about it. I mean, I think it is what it is. I wouldn't take it too personal, but it's kind of funny that you saw him off to the side and he's having a super serious phone conversation, chugging some wine. That's kind of funny, but yeah, that was an awesome call. Appreciate it. Let's see who we have up next. This is going to come from Mike DeMonte.
This is Mike DeMonte, former music journalist, author of the book Hey Suburbia, and former guest of the pod. Regarding meet and greet experiences, I remember back when Blink did the Honda Civic tour, there's a really cool upgrade. It was called Boomer Loves Boobies, and you got to meet Tom DeLonge, hang out with him, get a picture, talk to him, and he personally signed a lithograph, and he got like a snap bracelet, and the portion of that money went to cancer research, which I thought was really cool. Great experience. And another memorable meet and greet was during the Blink 20-year Enema of the State tour. I was able to tell Matt Skiba that Every Thug Needs a Lady, the Alkaline Trio song, was what my wife and I got married to. My wife was there too. And Matt was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But meanwhile, Mark was just like totally blown away by it. He kept looking at Matt like, oh my God, that's amazing. So yeah, those are just, two examples of many meet and greets I've been to, but those definitely stand out as memorable and definitely worth the price of admission.
What up, Mike? Thanks for the call. Yeah, that's a good point about the Boomer Loves Boobies. I know a lot of folks had a chance to meet Tom back then for that. And I think from an artist perspective, we got into this on the last episode, but if you're not comfortable charging, fans want to meet you. So if you can do something good with that, make it a charity or like this for cancer research, I just think it's a win-win. I mean, unless you just hate your fans and do not ever want to meet them, I feel like you should have some chance or provide some sort of opportunity to sync with fans, even if it's just a chance to raise some money for a good cause. That's probably one of the better ways to do it if you or your band don't need the money or don't care about the money or whatever. Just because people want to meet you, man. I hate to just put it that way, but it's like if you're that famous, you have to understand that people want to meet you. And if you don't provide any opportunity for that, well, then you open it up for people waiting outside or camping at your hotel or doing that type of thing. That's a very interesting side to the argument. It's like, okay, say you don't want to meet your fans, you don't provide any meet and greet opportunity. Well, then are you really going to be surprised when people are camping out outside your hotel room or, waiting at the elevator or by the bus or whatever? And then celebrities get mad about it. And it's like, well, I don't know what to tell you when it gets to that point. I mean, if you're balling at that level and hate your fans that much at that level, you need to have security to keep people the fuck away from you. Is basically how I feel about it. But yeah, that was cool to hear about the Boomer experience. And then, yeah, the 20th anniversary of Enema of the State. Blink did some really killer VIP packages really throughout the entire Skiba era. I think that's part of why I look back so fondly of that era, is that there were so many rad experiences I had with sound checks and meeting the band, photos and signings, that type of thing. It was just really rad looking back. And to be able to walk up to the artists and thank them for something that has meant so much to you, it's important. And having that opportunity is important. So appreciate you sharing that. That's pretty rad. Every time I've ever chatted with Skiba, even if briefly, he was always as kind as you could imagine. Okay, let's see who is up next. I believe this one is coming in from Sunny.
Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Sunny and I am from Melbourne, Australia. And I wanted to share a little story about how I met my favorite band, Alkaline Trio. But before I do, I have to say a huge shout out to Poppin for an amazing pod. You do great, dude, and we absolutely love it. So a couple of years ago, Alkaline Trio returned to Australia for the first time in like 10 years. And it was incredible to have them back. And I went to a few of their shows in a couple of different cities. And after the second show, I met with them at the airport. Like, it was so random, just like running into them, really. And it was just so nice and organic. And they were so lovely to me. We hung out, we got some photos, they signed some things for me. And it was just so genuine and organic and just like the best experience I could ever hope for. It was so cool. They took some photos and Matt and I got a really cute photo with our matching tattoos. And he started following me on Instagram and posted the photos. And I just, still to this day, I just think it's just crazy that happened because it was the most incredible experience. You know, they've been my favorite band for 22 years and it was the dream way to meet them. And they were just so kind to me. And the night after at the Melbourne show, they remembered my name said hi to me, and they gave me the set list, gave me drumsticks, gave me picks. It was just so incredible, and I could not ask for a better experience.
That is a great story. I appreciate the call, Sonny. I appreciate the kind words on the podcast. I love how much Australia loves Blink-182, Alkaline Trio, pop punk, punk rock, everything. I just love it. And so what you described there, I think is what a lot of folks would dream of. And that's just running into your favorite people or band or whoever organically out in the wild. And like you mentioned, just at the airport, you probably were freaking out. You look up, Matt Skiba right in front of you. Do you go say hi? You did. It sounds like it worked out in your favor, which is great. I mean, the fact that they said, hey, signed your stuff, took pictures. I vaguely recall that for some reason. That kind of rings a bell about Matt sharing a fan's tattoo out in the wild. So if that was you, it probably was. That's pretty crazy. But yeah, you never know how that's going to play out, especially at an airport. A lot of times at an airport, folks may not want to be bothered, or they have their headphones on. You don't know if you should say, hey, they're in the middle of traveling. You don't want to blow their cover. That's one of the things that as I get a little bit older, I try to be a little bit mindful of. Ironically, I saw Dan out on the Blink tour. So the recent Alkaline Trio and Blink shows, before the show had started, even the opener, I saw Dan just walking around amongst the crowd. And I knew it was him. I could tell right away. But he had his hood up. And you could tell he was probably just bored and killing time, just wanting to take a look at the venue. And I wanted to say, hey, I had 2 or 3 chances, but I didn't want to blow his cover. And I regret it. I wish I would have. I should have just kept it on the down low, gave him a fist bump, a little nod, kept it low key, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's an awesome story. I love that. As I've mentioned a couple times, I mean, any of my interactions with Skiba in particular, I mean, he's just a sweetheart, as kind as a soul as you could ever imagine. So to run into him in the wild and to have that type of memory is pretty rad. Let's see who is up next. I believe this is coming from Sammy. So Sammy's a huge Blink fan, huge Blink collector, has been to 1 million shows. So I can't wait to hear her story about this. Let's see what Sammy has to say.
Hey Ryan, it's Sammy. I'm gonna try to keep this concise, but I have experience on both sides, and I've been, attending meet and greets for such a long time, and then working meet and greets for a while as well, that it's an interesting dichotomy between where it's come from and where it's gone. So I'm gonna divide 2 things up. I know there can be some interlap, but for the purpose of how I'm gonna explain it, meet and greets are artist involvement. You're actually interacting with them. I support this. VIP experiences are not necessarily inclusive of the band element. And when you're talking about the cost of what it is to get into some of those, absolutely, kind of a cash grab. That said, I really still appreciate, even now as an adult, not as concerned with meeting everyone as I once was at like your Warped Tour days or whatever the case may be. I really still like the one-offs where the band does a signing. You got to go to the record store. You got to buy the vinyl or the CD, and that's kind of like you're in. I still appreciate that very much. That's kind of my favorite way to do it, especially when it involves a photo, because I am the opposite of you. In that I would prefer the photograph to the autograph, just because I've seen the way people really bastardize reselling and all that stuff. So anytime that's involved, I'm into it. I will say at this point, I've reached the stage where a CD level band to me, I'm not going to go out of my way to do it, but my A's and B's, I'm still going to go. So those I'm in support of. Meet and greet, when you're taking just a picture, I don't know if you can correlate it to an exact price, but I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not willing to spend more than, $125, $130. And that would only be if it's somebody that I haven't met otherwise. I think once you've met the band that you're trying to go see, the perception of the value goes down. And that's not to say that they are any less, they're talented any less or anything like that. but it's like, okay, I have this photo in this step and repeat background like everybody else is getting. Why am I going to pay for it again, or pay more for it than I paid the first time, or whatever that case looks like in that instance? It can vary so widely. Then when you get into things like your VIP experiences where the artist is not involved, you might get something that's signed, you might not, you're just sitting in somewhere. I tend to think of this in terms now with the like 3,000 foot view and 30,000 foot view. It's a luxury experience. It's equivalent to like an adult going to the spa and getting a massage, right? So if you perceive that you're having some level of exclusivity, you're going to pay more. That's the cash grab. At those levels, kind of like you already hit the nail on the head, artists not really involved. Management's making the decision as part of the touring package. Is it still cool to see if you can see it? Sure. Is it worth the price? It's very, very subjective. I would say no. All that to say, I'm not going to turn it down if the opportunity presents itself at no expense, right? So, from a production standpoint, again, I've worked as like a production assistant, a VIP assistant. I can tell you that it gets redundant for the band to kind of sit there and go through the same motions. There are certainly times where the band wants to engage with you more than they're able to, and I think that creates frustration on both sides. I've never seen a band be outright rude to any of their fans, but you can certainly tell like the attitude shift, and it's kind of disappointing. I can also tell you kind of like the way that you described when the room cap gets larger as they're growing as a band, you can tell that the disposition of their interest level might change. I can think of an artist off the top of my head very specifically whom became a completely different person once, they busted out of the clubs and into the larger concert halls. So it's interesting to watch. Again, I could talk about this for a really long time, but without getting into specifics, I just think as long as the meet and greet package actually includes the artist, I'm into it. As long as the value's there, again, kind of like you were describing, if it's just some generic crappy merch, 10 times out of 10 times, if you wait until the end of the tour and you're just after the merch, you can buy it on the secondhand market for less money. So it's just about knowing, and as you get older, you realize more. But by the same time, as people get older, they also get a little bit complacent, and they want more of that luxurious feel, so they'll do those things like VIP packages where you're already going to drink at the show, so you buy this, you get in early, you're comfortable, you're not fighting people at the bar, you're not fighting to get your merch, so on and so forth. But, yeah, that's kind of my insight.
Appreciate that, Sammy. Great insight from somebody who's attended a bunch and worked them. I'm with you. The artist's involvement for me is just so key. It's like, I want to meet the fucking band. Whether or not they want to be there or not, or you're the 200th person they've met that day and they're ready to go back to the bus. At the end of the day, I just want to be able to thank the artist for what they've done, get a signed poster, get a picture, and be on my way. And I'm with you. I think for me, that threshold is about 125, maybe to $150. And I do agree. It's one of those things where it's like, once you do it once for the tour, there's really no point in doing it every single show. I mean, unless you just really like, for example, the sound check aspect of it. Thinking back to the Blink ones, maybe on the California tour, I think I did 2 VIP packages on that tour, but mostly that was because I wanted to go to the sound check. So the second photo with the band, I didn't care too much about because like you described, I mean, everybody's being herded through. Once you meet them once, you've kind of met them, you've got your picture, whether or not you have one with the same background. Again, it doesn't matter too much, but yeah, I mean, I think it's important, and I think artists should realize that. The other thing that I was thinking about when you were talking through this is it's also very, very niche and very, very rare for me to even give a fuck about these for a band. So that makes me feel like if I was in a band and I had people who actually even wanted to go to my VIP, you should be stoked about that. And again, I get it. It's their job. They're there. They're tired. They may not want to do it. But of all the concerts I would go to, I mean, hell, I would attend a fucking Creed concert if it got me out of the house and I could enjoy a few IPAs and have a good night out. Their VIP packages, I would be clueless on. I mean, if you think about just concerts you would attend versus concerts you would be looking up VIP packages and potentially paying extra towards, I mean, there's no way in hell I'd be paying $100 for 90% of concerts out there that would be within my range of attending. So I think the fact that you have diehard fans or a niche audience that is down to pay more to support you, I guess what I'm trying to say there is they're some of your biggest fans. Like, give them a good time, say hey, shake their hand, take a picture, give them some rad shit. I do think as far as the CD signings and such go, yeah, I mean, to me, if you're a band out on tour, you absolutely should be popping into record stores. I love, one of the things I've seen recently is when bands pop into a record shop and they sign a bunch of their vinyl and then they leave them there for the local record store to sell the next day. I think that is so rad. It's just one of those things where it's like, if I was in a band and you're out on tour and you have a brand new album, pop by the local record store, sign a bunch of CDs, take a picture with the owners, and be on your way. It's just cool shit like that, I think, goes a long way. And then you also talked about experiences. This is one of those things that has become kind of a buzzword with VIP stuff in the past few years. You're right. It's no longer just a formal meet and greet or a photo op or even just being quote unquote VIP, because at the end of the day, the VIP thing in general is kind of silly. You're not really very important. You're like one of 150 people who are kind of important, and by important it's basically just meaning you paid more to get in early, which is kind of silly in general. But the experiences in and of themselves are kind of funny to me, because yeah, when it just includes a lounge or even just like a historical display or drink tokens or whatever, it's like, I'm not paying a significant amount for that. But if it's down to management or the promoters or whoever booked the tour and they put that on and people bite, I don't know. It's hard for me to knock it. I think if folks have the money to throw down on that, you know, if you and your significant other only get one night away from the kids every 5 months and you want to throw down an extra $200 for a private lounge and an extra drink, you know, do you. I don't think it hurts anything. But I know for me personally, if the artist isn't there, you've basically already lost me. So yeah, and then I think from a VIP handler's perspective, it is very, very repetitive. And again, it's just one of those things that you don't really notice. And I hate to peel the curtain back, because I think for a lot of folks, if you've never done these or you've always wanted to do one, you know, it is special. And meeting these folks for the first time is rad, and I don't want to ruin it for you. But I think at minimum, perhaps these past couple episodes might make you think about the other side of it a little bit, maybe just to have some empathy towards what other folks are going through, because from a handler's perspective, and I've done it as well, it's crazy. It's overwhelming. It's crazy. And you're not even the person that's having to sit there and smile and shake hands and hear everybody's life stories and see their tattoo. You know, you're just getting pulled a million different directions. And I feel for folks like that. Just because you're talented and make great music, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're built for that type of admiration or just having to be on your A game in front of people at all times. You're constantly being recorded. I mean, it's honestly kind of crazy. And whatever your reasoning is, I mean, it could be that you're introverted or just, you know, don't want to be out there basically on display like a monkey at the zoo. I mean, I've heard people talk about that, where it's like we're being looked at like we're zoo animals on display, which is not a great way to think about things or feel. So no matter what your, I hate to say excuses, but whatever your feelings are on them from a talent's perspective, you know, I feel for them. And it could be as simple as you're just a germaphobe. Like if you recall in Mark's book, he talked about a pivotal point in his life where he looked out and he realized, oh my gosh, Blink as a whole, as a corporation, employs all of these people, millions of dollars on the line every single night. And what are they relying on? basically myself, Travis, and Tom to be healthy, on our A game, and performing. And when you think about that, Mark talked about how he really got kind of weirded out about germs and the meet and greets and shaking hands. I mean, I'm kind of a germaphobe. And I mean, shaking 200 hands in a row when you're out on tour constantly, every single day, dead of winter. I mean, with everybody showing up with colds and coughing and hacking. I mean, that shit grosses me out. And I don't even have 200 hands to shake. So I can only imagine if you're actually out on the road getting sick and having to do these, or particularly when you're at a point where you don't really have to. These things just get dicey, is the best way to put it. It's just really, really interesting. And I'll always remember Mark talking about meet and greets. And, you know, he half jokingly said in one of those clips from way back in the day that, you know, the meet and creeps. But basically, he said, inevitably, there's always one kid who shows up and is like, oh my gosh, I'm so sick, but I didn't want to miss out on meeting you guys, so I'm here. And then they just reach out their hand to shake your hand. You're like, oh God, here we go. The last thing on earth you want is to get sick out on tour. I'm sure that's the worst. But yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating. It really is, because I've sat there as basically a VIP handler at a signing or at a meet and greet. And when you're just kind of sitting to the side and you just see basically an endless line of people come up and it's just one after the other, it does get repetitive. And you're almost getting to the mindset of like, okay, hurry up. Like, okay, let's try and keep this to 30 seconds because there's a huge line behind you that we still have to get through. I got to pee. The talent's got to pee. We're only here for 45 minutes. Like, we got to get through this line. So it gets kind of tough. But yeah, I appreciate the call. Like you, I mean, I could talk about this topic all day. It's pretty wild. I see both sides of it. I think it's awesome on both sides to some extent. But yeah, okay. Let's see who is up next. I believe this one is coming in from Captain Dean.
What is up, poppin' curbs? Captain Dean here from Bowling Green, Kentucky. I very much enjoyed your last episode, and I'd love to chime in on it a little bit. I come from the 80s and 90s of concert-going experiences when I was a young teenager going into my 20s. I live an hour north of Nashville, Tennessee, and about an hour and a half south of Louisville, Kentucky. So going to concerts has never been a problem for me throughout my lifetime. And before this whole VIP thing kind of kicked in, which I think you said was around the 2010 time frame, which kind of makes sense to me, especially when I first started hearing about it. When I was a teenager, I was the guy that hung out around the backstage area. I met a lot of bands through the backstage bus hangout. I would catch them leaving the venue going to the bus, or if I was lucky, I would have a backstage pass kind of thing and get to meet the bands before the show. There was never any payment or money involved at all. Also, living close to that area brought a lot of great in-store record meet and greet opportunities, which again was really cool because all you had to do was buy the record, cassette, or CD, and that would pretty much be your in to be able to meet your band, hanging out and get autographs. And, back then we had 35 millimeter cameras, and usually you would get a decent picture or sometimes a very terrible picture. But I have a lot of memories of stuff like that. By the time I was in my early 20s, I had moved to Nashville. I started doing stuff in the music business, mainly as a drum tech, but I also did some guitar tech work. And kind of like what you were saying about the flip of things, like you go from being a fan and kind of an autograph town and wanting to meet people to working for a well-known drummer and becoming that guard kind of in between the fans coming at them, and I would kind of have to be that person to step up a little bit and almost barricade a little bit to kind of keep them from being hounded in a way. So I've been on both sides of the fence, and I had some really cool experiences. I worked for a drum magazine as well, So anytime a really big act would come to town, I would get backstage passes and have, basically a press pass. So I got to meet a lot of great bands and hang out and talk to the drummer, of course, but in that setting, I also would get to meet the band. So Foo Fighters, Pearl Jam, Sonic Youth, Red Hot Chili Peppers, those come to mind pretty quickly. Those were some memorable experiences. I never had any bad experiences, so to speak. I've met some celebrities after a show that were kind of shitty, but it's kind of like, they're tired. They're humans too, I can see how paying a lot of money to meet a band and having a bad experience would be a bad thing. I personally have never paid for a VIP because I think growing up in that time and never having to do such a thing, it was just something that was cool. If I wanted to meet one of my favorite bands, I would become aware of where they were at, when they were going to be there, sound check and stuff like that. And I would bring like the CD cover and a Sharpie with me. I've met a lot of drummers that I was a fan of, and I usually would have a drum head for them to autograph. So a lot of cool experiences like that. I went to several in-store meet and greet, record release type parties and stuff, but nothing really stands out in the pop punk world. I wish I had stories to say, oh, I met Blink and Green Day back in 94, 98, stuff like that. But unfortunately, that didn't happen for me. I will say that I do appreciate bands like MXPX saying that they don't charge for a meet and greet. I think that's cool. To me, lately, I've seen bands that come out to their merch booth after they perform. Most notably for me, Corrosion of Conformity, Unwritten Law. They would come off stage and go to their merch booth. And so to me, that makes sense because the fans are already there and you're already paying like $50, $100 or more for their merch. So if they come out to the merch booth and just kind of hang out, you're going to up your sales in merch and just, take a picture or maybe an autograph with the handful of people that are there that actually give a shit about meeting you and want to meet you. But a lot of fans are just there to have fun and don't care about meeting people. They say don't meet your heroes. I've met many of my heroes. Luckily, a lot of them have been good experiences. Most recently, I actually ran into you at the Newfound Glory record release show. And after the performance, I got to talk to Ian and Cyrus, and that was really cool. I'm a just diehard fan of Newfound Glory. So to actually be able to meet some of those guys and talk to them and get a picture with them was super cool. But my fandom of seeking autographs and paying for VIP, it's just not something I personally would want to do unless it was a band that I absolutely loved. It makes perfect sense to do it because all that money goes into the pot to keep them on the road doing what they love and not having to get a second job when they're not on tour. And there's a lot of bands out there that are successful in our eyes, but not making a living at it. And they still have to come back and get a job through a temp agency when they're not on the road for like 2 months or something like that. So I see a lot of that stuff behind the music because I've been in the music business and I've seen how things kind of function. But that's my thing. I remember the record store meet and greets. I remember hanging out backstage or getting involved in the music business through a magazine and being able to get backstage passes. And those are my memories of being able to meet a lot of my favorite bands and heroes in the music world. And if you're a fan and you've got the money, go for it. It's just not for me. But if Blink had a VIP upgrade thing, which I think you've done to do the little museum thing and get a quick meet and greet with the guys, I would probably shell out the money for that if I had it at the time. But unfortunately, my life isn't in a position where I can just shell out thousands of dollars at any given time to meet a band that I'm a fan of. So buying the record, buying the t-shirt, getting to see them in concert, And if you're lucky meeting them after the show, that is the icing on the cake for me. So great episode. Love what you're doing. Keep it up, and talk to you later.
Great call there, Dean. Appreciate it. You mentioned the in-store record signings. You're right. These were a big deal for a long time, long before all of these formal VIP packages and experiences. One of the old school ways to guarantee a formal meeting with a band was an in-store record signing. And you line up, you buy the record from the store. It guarantees you an opportunity to get your record signed, say hey to the band briefly, and be on your way. And I hope these never go away. These are always rad, especially when it's right around a brand new release. It's just an exciting time to get out and support a band you love. It's interesting how these have even evolved to some extent, because you mentioned the cameras back in the day, but these days, a lot of times they don't allow pictures. You can only get the one item signed. It's usually just the album that has to be purchased from the store, which makes perfect sense to me. Again, it's just a timing thing. So these, even going back to once Blink blew up, I mean, there were Take Off Your Pants and Jacket signings. There was at least one Untitled signing that comes to mind. Hell, even the One More Time recent release. If you wanted to meet Blink in this era, that is basically your only chance you had. So yeah, in-store record signings, very, very important to mention here in the context of being able to meet a band or say hey. From an expectation perspective, I think you have to realize when you're in line for a signing like that, it's quick. So again, just going into that, knowing that you're probably going to get your thing signed and you're going to be on your way. You've probably got 10 to 20 seconds to get your story out. And it's, who's up next. I didn't realize you were a drum tech. That's rad to hear. Foo Fighters, I just listened to their new album the other day. I'm actually seeing them out on tour, I think in August, just for the heck of it. I was a big Nirvana fan, not the biggest Foo Fighters fan in the world, but I'm stoked to see them live. Still can't believe that Alon is drumming with them, which is pretty crazy. The Chili Peppers, man, I would love to meet Flea. Flea's book was amazing. Incredible artist, just somebody who I feel like would be rad to shoot the shit with. MXPX, as you mentioned, I know they do not like charging fans to meet them. I remember even in the early days, they had said that they didn't even like signing autographs because their main thing was, we are just like you. So they didn't want to feel in any way above you by signing your album or whatever. What I respect out of them is that they're very accessible, and after the shows, if the venue allows for it and they have time, they set up right by merch, say hey, they will sign whatever, take a picture. And then a really important thing, like you mentioned, man, is if you're in a band that's either at that level or maybe just below it, and if you've got time or you're just bored, go to your merch booth, because it will translate into more sales, which is very, very important. You've got to remember, if you're out on tour, I've had bands tell me they are glorified t-shirt salesmen, straight up. So if you're out on tour and you got time to kill, and especially if you're still building your fan base or just want to kill some time after the show or your set, go kick it at merch, sign some CDs, sell some t-shirts, connect with the fans. I think it's super, super important. I always appreciate how MXPX does that. I hope they continue to do that. And then, yeah, like you mentioned with Newfound Glory, man, it's tough to beat those dudes. They're all rad as hell. Great example of a band that I don't think they ever forgot where they came from and who are very approachable, down to say, hey, sign whatever. It's kind of tough to beat. So appreciate the call, Dean. Good running into you. I'm sure I'll see you at a show some point sooner than later. Last call, I believe we have as of now, is the one and only Davy Jones. Let's see what the OG has to say and share with us.
Hey there, Poppin'. This is Davy Jones. Looks like you're looking for some stories about meet and greets. So yeah, let's see. Warped Tour 1999. There was a free signing and pics at the merch tent for Blink. Let's see. This would have been, I think it's July. Yeah, July 12th, 1999. So that was like a month after Enema came out. This is the San Diego date of the Warped Tour. And there weren't that many people lined up, maybe 20, 30, at the most 40 people lined up. This was like the middle of the day, and other bands were playing at all the different stages. And yeah, I just got in line and I hadn't seen Mark and Tom since like hung out other than a show, like since the Josie video shoot, which was like that was April 98. So this is like a little over a year later, and Travis was in the band. And I lined up and I didn't have anything to sign, didn't get an autograph or anything, but they were like, hey, you can take pictures with us. And I had a disposable camera I bought to take pictures of the concert. And so I still have a pic today of me and Mark and Tom. I didn't ask for Travis to be in it. He's like in the background turning away. Um, and me and Mark and Tom. And so yeah, that was a free meet and greet that's really special for me because like they were just about to blow up, right? In San Diego, they were already hugely known, of course. And then I think at the start of 2000, once all the small things came out, then they would have totally blown up, nationally and then globally. But this is the last time, right, that they would be able to do like a free meet and greet, just come by and get a picture and get an autograph with the band at the merch tent. This would have been the last summer they'd be able to do that. So that was really special. I've gone to other meet and greets before. I think a really cool band for meet and greets is Motion City Soundtrack. I love these guys. They're probably my favorite band of the entire genre of sort of the emo pop punk kind of genre. I've done 4 paid like VIP meet and greets with them 4 times. I did in San Francisco twice. I did it once in Sacramento and then once in Denver, Colorado. I remember the SF dates were, let's see, one was 2011, and that was like 2 nights back to back where they were like playing albums front to back on both nights, all the albums that they had by that time by 2011. And that was a cool meet and greet. It was before the show, and it was like upstairs in the venue in this ballroom, and they played like just a really light acoustic. Like they didn't have percussion or anything. They just had like a couple acoustic songs on guitar and bass with no keys. And then they had this thing where like you could ask them questions, whatever you wanted. And a lot of the kids were younger and they were like super shy. But I remember I had a question that I asked Justin and Josh. I said, if you could give us one word to describe each of your albums, and then I said, except for I Am the City, which is the first one. And they said, why? Well, why not that one? And I said, well, that was really a compilation of a bunch of tracks that have been recorded already, and it wasn't really written and recorded as a work. And I felt that Commit This to Memory was the first to be written and recorded as a single work. And they were kind of impressed by that. And then I forget the answer, but Justin gave a word for each of the albums. Then in 2015, they were doing the 10-year anniversary tour for Commit This to Memory. So I went to both the Sacramento and the San Francisco dates for that. I remember the Sacramento date, this just indicates like how generous this band is with their like VIP time with their fans. Like Justin had totally lost his voice that night after the concert, and he had to like save it for their next dates coming up. So he was like super apologetic, and he almost like kind of like mimed his apology in like a very kind of like cutesy like Japanese kind of way because he's learning Japanese at that time. Um, and he came out and hung out with us just for a long time and got like casual pictures and selfies with us apart from like the step and repeat photo op that was earlier in the night because he felt so bad that he couldn't like talk with us. So he just hung out and kind of jokingly like mimed things and took pictures and just gave a lot of his time. I keep going back and paying to do the VIP with Motion City because they're just so generous with their time. And this is like a way to support bands that you really love when album sales are not really what they used to be and touring is very expensive and hard. And it's just an easy thing to do to give them some more cash, get some photos for you, get some maybe exclusive merch, get something signed, maybe an exclusive music performance. It's really, really neat. So yeah, those are my stories.
Thanks, Davey. Always appreciate some good Davy Jones stories. That's crazy about Blink, dude. 1999, Enema just drops out on Warped Tour, and to still be able to just walk up to them at merch, say hey, the whole band's just hanging out. I mean, that's crazy because, like you mentioned, their lives are getting ready to change forever and ever. And here you are just walking up, 20 people deep, saying hey, with the history you have with Blink. You got your picture. Still have it, rocking the OG Blink shirt. I just love it, man. That's pretty rad. I didn't realize Travis was just in the background. That's kind of funny. Motion City Soundtrack, that's a band that I'd love to catch live. Never have, but when you talk about the VIP stuff, the acoustic performance, I mean, I think that's always fun. The Q&A, that's something that I don't know if I mentioned on the last episode, but that's fairly common with VIP packages, and it's usually good. Now, I've seen these go both ways. I've seen some that are really good when there's good questions and the fans are super engaged and the band's engaged. And then I've seen some where it's almost just like a dead 10 minutes, 20 minutes where people don't have questions prepared and it's just kind of awkwardly stumbling through those. But for the most part, I do think those are a good offering, at least to give the fans a chance to ask you something that they've always wanted to. And then, yeah, that's awesome to hear about Justin. I mean, at the end of the day, and I suspect most of you all, or anybody who's non-famous and doesn't have to go through this, I mean, at the end of the day, you would just hope that, like Justin here, you lose your voice, these fans are out to support you, and instead of just phoning it in or laying in your bunk, you actually went the extra mile, which is rad to hear. Like, hearing this story from you, I respect him now more. And I would actually be more inclined to buy VIP if I ever made it to an MCS show, solely because of your feedback. And I think that stuff's important when you share these stories amongst friends, or you're just chatting with friends and coworkers or online or whatever. I mean, if you read up on a VIP experience that sucks ass, you're probably not going to do it if it's in your city. So that's why I feel like from a band's perspective, it's like, treat people fairly and the way that you would want to be treated, as cliche as that sounds, and until you end up, I guess, losing sight of that at some point for some folks, which is kind of sad. But you're right. It's a great way to support bands. And that's really my takeaway throughout all of this is, at the end of the day, if you can support an artist and them doing what they love, then I think it's a win-win situation. And I think for the most part, you should feel good about that coming out of it. And I feel like the bands should go somewhat of an extra mile to accommodate that from a VIP perspective, and just to be rad. Like, just be fucking rad. I don't understand why that is so hard for so many people. And you make a good point there about just the rising cost of touring. I don't think people realize this, but do you know a lot of bands, when they go overseas, they actually lose money? This is something I've had big bands tell me about this. I'm like, hang on, you're a big band, you go overseas and you lose money? Really? Yeah. So when you have a chance to get, I don't know, 25 to 50 extra VIPs and they've all paid 50 to 150 bucks, like, from the band's perspective, be rad, be kind to them. And from the fans' perspective, show up, be enthusiastic, be stoked, because at the end of the day, you are helping them, whether or not if they're assholes to you or super kind. But yeah, it's just an interesting thing, man. And if you think about the cost of touring and flights and buses and just management, everybody taking a cut in between. I mean, touring musicians have such an uphill battle from the get-go. And so to be able to help them in any way, especially a band that you're even remotely interested in going the extra mile and paying for a VIP for, I just think it's really special. And it's one of those things that I always appreciate and try to support if I can swing it. If it's in that $50 to $150 range for a band you absolutely love. If you get above that, then yeah, we got to have a little bit of a discussion. But okay, at this point in the recording, we have the voicemails that have been submitted. I think I've gotten to every one of them. I'm going to read a couple emails that were sent in, and we're going to call it a rad episode. So let's see who has submitted a story. Okay, here is one sent in by Adriana. The only celeb I've ever met is Tommy Lee. Oh my, this is going to be a good one. Back in 2012, Motley Crue and Kiss were touring together. My husband and I at the time drove to Darien Lake to see them. Before the show, they had the Darien Lake amusement park open just for concert attendees. That's pretty rad. Tommy at the time was playing a treasure hunt game on Twitter, posting riddles, and if you figured the riddle out, you'd find where he hid meet and greet concert tickets to meet him. He tweeted this riddle: "You will need a clear head for this hunt, so let's begin. Empty all your thoughts and erase the mind. Good. Now go to a place in the front row where you spin upside down and around to find this treasure." I would have no clue where to start on that. And we figured out that they were underneath the seats of a roller coaster called Mind Eraser. Oh my gosh. Erase the mind. Okay. I guess if you're familiar with the park, hopefully that jumped out to you, but I would never figure that out. Ran to grab them, and they were in an envelope that read, "Go to back entrance after Motley set. Ask for Motley security." That's crazy. And his name was signed at the bottom. Inside were 4 meet and greet concert tickets. We had to take a photo of the envelope and tweet it back to him. I mean, we had tickets to the show already, but anyhow, we gave the other 2 meet and greet passes to another Canadian couple we had met in the amusement park. After Motley's set, we went backstage and a security took us to his trailer. He came out, shot the shit with us for a bit, and took photos with us. Had his arms around us for the photos too, which I was like, damn, okay, he's super laid back. Overall, he was unbelievably cool and down to earth. He couldn't believe we were all Canadian. It was such a random way to meet a celeb, but super fun and unforgettable. This happened in 2012, so I can't recall the exact conversation that was had, but I do know he asked us what we thought of the set. We obviously told him he was cool shit and the band had a wicked set. I framed the photo with Tommy along with the envelope, and the passes were all autographed. I'm sure tons of other fans met during this time as he was playing the Twitter treasure hunt game for most tour stops. He had tweeted at the time that he was adamant about not doing meet and greets anymore, just wanted fans to meet him for free, which I thought was neat. That is insane. So even at Tommy Lee's level, he's still having fun and finding ways to meet fans for free. I mean, that's an awesome way to do it. I feel like that makes it fun for the artist, makes it fun for the fans, and to be able to pull that off, that's pretty incredible, especially at Motley Crue's level. And I respect the fact that he's saying, he didn't want to do paid meet and greets. And of course, at that level, he doesn't need the money. So why not have some fun, good times with random fans, showing up at the end of the set who obviously follow you on Twitter and did the treasure hunt or whatever. That's killer. That's an insane story. I feel like if you're that famous, why not just have some fun with the fans? It's a good way to put it. Okay, let's see what's in next. Okay, this one comes from Matthew. Hey, Poppin', been catching up on the pod lately as I've been gearing up for NFG coming to Chicago. Your interviews have been great. I wanted to share that it hit home hearing about Chad, both in Ian and Jordan's interview, talking about Chad Gilbert of Newfound Glory and his bout with cancer. So a completely new perspective on the acoustic album it gave me. It's easy to get angry at sickness, but the perspective of others like Chad and Mark who share their stories have inspired me to live life and live in the moment. Thanks for giving an avenue for these artists to share. I appreciate that, dude. I listened to the meet and greet episode as well. The NFG meet and greet will be the first I have paid for. The cost to what you get is crazy. Plus the person I'm taking is going to be so stoked. Yeah, the NFG one coming up, I think some folks picked up on it, but the unnamed band I mentioned on the last episode, the VIP package that included a signed skateboard, that was NFG, killer deal. If you're going to that show, you should totally do that. I've done an MXPX meet and greet, and they were very kind and listened to my story of why I started playing bass. But the craziest after-concert meeting I had was with Derek St. Holmes, former lead singer of Ted Nugent's band. Stranglehold was Derek's biggest hit. I was in high school and Derek was touring with his band Big People. It has Billy Joel's drummer, the lead guitarist from 38 Special, and Benjamin Orr from The Cars playing one of his last shows before he passed. This was a small town 4th of July festival. Derek was hanging out behind the stage telling a bunch of high school kids stories about how much he hated Ted Nugent and he lost royalties, but he wrote Stranglehold. He also signed my buddy's license as a witness to him being an organ donor, which you had to have in Illinois back then to officially be an organ donor. Keep putting out great content. Thanks for being part of my day. I appreciate that. It's from Mac McCooley, listed as Matthew here at a gift act on Instagram. Appreciate it. That's crazy. Yeah, I think if you think back and you just have a natural interaction like that behind the venue at a gig, it's just stuff like that that clearly you remember to this day. So that stuff is super, super important. Like I've been preaching here, I feel like it should be common courtesy to be rad to fans, and then vice versa. Fans, we need to support and be thankful and grateful for these artists and their time. because like we've talked about a little bit here, I mean, I think a lot of us have probably dreamt of a rock star life or being a musician as a career or whatever. And for a lot of folks, it doesn't happen. And for the vast majority of folks who are doing it, it can still be a struggle and it's still a lot of work. That's just the stuff that you don't really see. The last one I believe we have here is from Aaron Burke. This was sent in via email. What's up, Poppin'? First, would like to say thanks for all you do in the Blink community. Your hard work and time you put in doesn't go unnoticed. So appreciate you for all of that. Oh, thanks, dude. Appreciate it. This stuff does take a lot of time, but it's fulfilling, and I'm grateful to have met so many friends and just have this platform to put cool stuff out and try my best. My name is Aaron Burke from North Carolina. I've been following you for a while now and been following the pod also on and off. So I really didn't get into Blink until after everyone else usually does at that teenage era. I would say I'm a late bloomer. Didn't really listen to music in high school, just whatever friends were listening to. So got into Blink shortly after graduating high school in 2013. So nothing new to listen to, just all the old stuff, which I was fine with exploring this band and just learning everything about them. There's a big gap there. I mean, when Blink had broken up, I mean, basically from 2005 through, I mean, yeah, we had Reunion 2009, but from that gap there, 2004 through basically Neighborhoods, I mean, a lot of folks, if that was in your age range of where you're listening to new music or checking out new music, I mean, it wasn't Blink at that time. So kind of getting to know Blink in 2013, depending on your age, isn't super surprising to me, to be honest. So it's cool to hear, though, because when you talk to fans, there typically seems to be a particular era or album that was like their Blink. And so it's cool to hear about the different age groups and which album was the big one during their pivotal years of listening or teenage years or whatever. Okay, so let me see where I was at on this. Once Matt joined in 2016 and they dropped California, I knew I had to see them. Don't know when, where, or how, but I was going to see them. So they don't stop anywhere in North Carolina in 2016. So I drive to South Carolina to see them with All American Rejects and A Day to Remember. Great show. That was a killer tour. See them 2 or 3 times that year, just craving more of it. 2019 rolls around and they announce the Enema of the State tour. I see that they have meet and greet. So once again, don't know how, but I'm going to see them and I'm doing the meet and greet. Closest they come to me is Virginia Beach. I'm like, whatever. Cool. My girlfriend and sister-in-law saw Lil Wayne would be touring with them. Crazy lineup, but whatever. So I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. It helps me get there. I'm down. Neck deep, Lil Wayne and Blink. Hell of a pairing. Let's see. I buy 3 lawn seats and then by myself the meet and greet. They didn't know they were doing meet and greet until we were on the way. Long story short, we had a vacation planned the week before the show in South Carolina. So I'm like, cool, whatever. We get up early Saturday, drive home, drive some stuff off on the drive to Virginia. Saturday comes, I'm waking everyone up to get the car loaded, head home, unpack, repack, and get on the road. While on the way there, I think we started talking about seating and why we were heading there so early if the show didn't start until 7. That is when I informed them that I was going to meet Blink, but they couldn't get in until doors open. My girlfriend, now wife, isn't mad. Her sister isn't mad. They can't be. I bought their tickets and paid for a hotel and everything to get them there, basically, so it was a free trip for them. Honey, hop in the car. We're heading to the concert, and I'm meeting Blink by myself. I love it. I was only 24 at the time, so I saved up to do that. They dropped me off to tell me we'll meet up later, and I head into the venue. Get through security, scan the ticket, and the queue is near the stage. I'm excited. I've never done anything like this in my life. The only Blink merch I had I'm wearing, which was a long sleeve burgundy one with the bunny on the sleeves and the big Blink in the middle. So I'm wearing that in the middle of summer because why not? Security tells us the do's and don'ts. We line up and head to the stage. Walk into the pit, and I line up right in front of Matt's area. Mark is already out just hanging with everyone, talking and just chilling with us. That was a very common thing. So at a lot of those sound check parties, they would call them, Mark would walk out first and just kick it. I've got great pictures of that. I've got some clips of that. Super cool. Matt is the next one to arrive, and same thing, just a chill dude warming up while also talking to everybody, waiting on Travis. That was a theme at mine too. They were saying they're waiting on Travis. Travis is always late. Travis knows we're waiting on him. Travis walks out and he's talking with Daniel, who's his tech, gets all set up and they're ready to go. Somehow a dude lined up in front of Mark snuck in a license plate he had customized. It either said B182 or Blink 182, something along the lines of that. He offered it to Mark, and Mark, being the guy he is, traded with him. Mark had someone go get a bass guitar and traded the guy the license plate for a guitar. Pretty cool experience. I remember that. That totally rings a bell. I remember that happening. I would totally trade a license plate for a bass. They're all just hanging around. They play 3 or 4 songs, sound check ends, and they line us up for pictures. Basically, everyone there except me was in a group of 2 to 4. I'm solo. It's my turn to get up and get my photo. I walk up. Travis speaks, fist bumps, all the same thing with Matt. And then I get to Mark, and he's like, dude, why the fuck are you wearing a long sleeve shirt? Just like it says, we grew up together, calling me out on some crazy shit. I'm like, dude, this is all I had planned on. I was going to get some merch. Well, Mark yells for someone to get me a shirt. Joking or not, pretty cool and funny. That's hilarious. Never got the shirt, but just a great experience. We take the picture. They talk with us again for a little bit, answer some questions, and then we're set free to the merch booth. Since I had lawn seats, they let me in the pit for Neck Deep, which hadn't heard much of until then, which turned me on to them. Love them now. Yeah, that's what really sold me on Neck Deep, was being there early and watching them just rip a couple sets was sick. Left the pit after a few songs to walk around and meet up with the girlfriend and her sister. Saw the grass was wet. I think it rained. So I'm like, let me go rent some chairs or a blanket, get to the kiosk, ask for blankets. And the person says, how much would you like to sit under the pavilion? And they say, we sold the lawn out and have so many tickets under the pavilion. We're moving people from the lawn there to fill it in. So I get 3 pavilion seats and we find our seats. So that worked out. I feel like that's rare. Usually you have to pay for that upgrade. Blink finally comes on and it was just perfect. Inflatable aliens made it to our seats. Mark actually ended up right by our section when he walked off and performed near us. All in all, just a perfect experience. I would do it anytime I have the chance. Once in a lifetime experience. Glad I was able to do it. Going to include some pictures for you. And again, appreciate all you do. Thanks. And he's got some pictures here from Soundcheck. And he's got the meet and greet picture and then the picture of Mark in the crowd playing, probably wasting time on acoustic, which was sick. Man, that made me miss the 2019 tour. That was such a sick tour. I know folks will get mad if I say how much I love the Skiba era or even miss the Skiba era to some extent. But as I mentioned earlier, a lot of it I think just has to do with just honestly like how rejuvenated Blink felt and how active they were. I mean, every summer I saw Blink in that time period. All the way basically up until COVID, and they were getting ready to go back out again. So it was a really special time, and for a lot of us, that was your first chance to meet the band and say hey and get your picture taken. So that was awesome. I look back at that summer just so fondly, and at that time it was crazy because Tom had started working on music again, and I remember there was a week where I literally saw Blink and met Blink earlier that week, and then a few days later met Tom and saw Angels and Airwaves, and everybody was happy and getting along, and it was crazy, and we had Simple Creatures coming, so it was just a cool summer for sure. Okay, I think I have read or played all of the entries at this point. My apologies if somehow I missed it. I saw some got caught in spam. I think I even caught those. If for some reason I did, feel free to remind me or send it in. This was so much fun. I always appreciate the engagement on these. It just makes for such a fun episode. As always, thank you for listening. I appreciate your time and patience on me getting these out. I mean, sometimes it takes me a couple weeks to put these together, but it's always a lot of fun, and it's a ton of fun when I get to hear from you all and kind of react to your stories. I mean, this was great. Much longer than I expected. Do me a favor, if you enjoy the podcast or listen to the podcast, can you please leave a review on Spotify or Apple? I think Spotify is just a star system. Apple, you can type something out if you want. But I was reminded on my podcast uploader thing the other day that I could use some reviews. We got a good listenership. But if you don't mind taking a couple seconds, I work really hard on this, trying to keep it ad-free. I don't want to do Patreon or any of that bullshit. So if you could take a couple seconds, rate and review the podcast, it would be greatly appreciated. And I'm debating if I should tell the meet and greet story from Blink. We're going long. Maybe I should do it from memory. Let's do it. I wasn't planning on doing this, but now that I've got to thinking about the Skiba era stuff, I want to share about my big Blink meet and greet as best as my memory serves at this point in time. So let's go back. Fuck it. Let's go back. Bonus 5 minutes. We've got a bonus 5 minutes here. We're in overtime, and I'm going to talk about my 2017 meet and greet experience with Blink, because it was probably the best one off the top of my head. Pretty sure it was the most special. So just to recap, 2016, California comes out. They did VIP packages for that. That was when you basically had like the sound check and the photo ops. For the deluxe tour, 2017, they were playing with Naked and Famous, and one of the VIP packages, I believe it was called Everything's Gonna Be Fine. I think there were 2 or 3 different tiers, and they each had kind of a funky name, like Feeling This, I think was one, and then Everything's Gonna Be Fine, I feel like was the name of the big one. And I'm trying to remember cost-wise what it was. I feel like it was $400 or $500. It was a lot, because I struggled to do the 2016 upgrade, and it might have been offered on that tour and I couldn't swing it, or it sold out so quick. Can't totally recall. But 2017 rolls around, and they're doing more touring off of Cali Deluxe, and they offer this huge VIP package that not only includes the sound check, the merch, the early entry, the photo op, but then you also basically get a 30-minute hangout session with the band, which is insane. And for me, I had already did the photo op the summer prior, so that wasn't that big of a deal. But you all know me, I'm an autograph nerd and a Blink collector. And my big thing was I want to be able to get some of my favorite records signed. Like, that's a big deal to me. And so at each show, I believe there were 10 of these VIP packages available at each show, and they flew. I mean, they sold out so quick. So I knew these were coming out before the tickets even went on sale. You could see the different packages and the pricing. Talked to my Blink friend in real life. We were down. We were going to figure out a way to swing it no matter what. Put it on a credit card. Doesn't matter. And we secured 2 of the biggest meet and greet packages or whatever. Pretty sure it was Everything's Gonna Be Fine. And I believe it was sold through a company called Adventures in Wonderland. This is all coming back to me. And we were set to do this. I believe it was in Knoxville, Tennessee, maybe. Somewhere in the Midwest, it would have been reachable for me. Or is Knoxville in Kentucky? I'm so lost. I don't even know. Long story short, this is leading up to the show, and I'm stoked. I've picked out my vinyl I want signed. I've got brand new Sharpies. I'm like totally looking forward to this. And literally like 2 days before the show, it gets canceled. I get an email. Like, I was talking to my buddy, like, when are we leaving? Who's driving? Blah, blah, blah. And I look at my email, and the show has been completely canceled. Not even really a reasoning behind it. And my heart just sank. This is not the first time that I've missed either a Blink or a Plus 44 was one of the big first cancellations for me that bummed me out. It just happens. Like, I feel like if you're a hardcore Blink fan and you've been following them for a long time, it's almost inevitable that some point a show will be canceled that's out of the band's control or out of our control. And I was just heartbroken because, I mean, the VIP stuff was being refunded. It was just done. And so I called the company. I was scrambling to look at nearby dates, and there wasn't anything else remotely close. I think the closest one was in Pelham, Alabama, which was like a 7 or 8 hour drive, like absurd. And I remember emailing the company and trying to get somebody on the phone. I was like, hey, you know, is there any chance you can just switch my VIP tickets to this show? I know there's only 10 per show. You know, I get it if they can't accommodate more people, but I've been looking forward to this forever. So if there's any way to just move the VIP package, you know, we'll make the drive. And they were like, let us check. And long story short, they accommodated us, which was great. So get in the car. We took his dad's tiny ass car. I can't remember what it was, but it was this tiny ass car, no leg room. We drive like 7 hours, basically straight there. Get to the hotel. We get in, and it's kind of similar to what we've been through before. You know, you line up. There's probably 60-ish to 75-ish VIPs that are watching sound check. You get to watch sound check. You line up for your photo op, which was rad. And then afterwards, if you had this package, there was probably 12 of us. I mean, it was probably 10 folks and then us two being the add-ons. We wait, and there's like this little trailer. It's so random. And I think at each venue, they picked a different spot, you know, whatever was the most kind of like private, cool looking small spot. And so we're hanging out, and they're like, okay, you know, we're going to let you in this trailer. And I can't remember if there was a food offering or snacks. I feel like there was some sort of snack offering, and there was a Nintendo setup inside. And part of what Blink would come out and do is, I think Mark was coming out and playing Mario Kart with folks. Just as kind of an icebreaker. It's just a fun thing to do at these little meet and greet parties. And so we get led into this trailer, and it's us and like 1 or 2 security people, the VIP handler, and then it's Landon Barker and Alabama sitting there playing Nintendo, which is kind of funny. And they're young. I mean, this is almost 10 years ago at this point. So we kind of like are awkwardly standing there. There's probably 8 to 12 of us just sitting there shooting the shit. And they're like, okay, the band's going to be coming in pretty soon. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is insane. And then all of a sudden, so Travis walks in, goatee Travis. I posted the picture of this the other day. Travis comes in, he's shooting the shit. He had just got his Michael Myers tattoo underneath his arm. I'm a huge Halloween fan. It's my favorite movie. And I remember talking to him about that, talking to him about tattoos a little bit. I had asked him about why the show had been canceled, and ironically, at the time, so Travis wasn't flying, and I believe they were set to play that Fire Festival or whatever that terrible festival was that got canceled, and people flew out there and basically were stranded in shitty tents eating bologna sandwiches or something. So Blink was set to play that, and to accommodate that, they had to cancel the show that I was supposed to attend to allow time for Travis to get to Florida and jump on a boat and make it there. And what's crazy is they ended up canceling that. So my show was kind of canceled for no reason. I mean, it all worked out in the end, which is fine. But I remember talking to Travis about that. And then what was cool about it is they would sign whatever. And you could also get like a personal cell phone photo that looked, you know, it's just you and them. It's not like with a backdrop or a staged photo op or whatever. So being able to kick it with the GOAT was insane. I had him sign. I was strategic about it. I had brought my Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, so I had Blink represented. I had something for Skiba. I brought my Heavens CD and I think Alkaline Trio Crimson. And then I had Plus 44 record to be signed, and then Travis's solo record. So I had Travis sign the solo record. He pimped it out. He put Travis motherfucking Barker, which is sick. He signed my Plus 44 album to Ryan, and then my Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, crossed out the plane, which is insane. Skiba was kind of off to the side, and it's kind of crazy looking back because even when you look at these meet and greet photos that we're talking about, the staged ones with the Blink backdrop or whatever, it's almost kind of sad because you can see Skiba off to the side. And in his mind, it's probably a little bit of, you know, he knows that folks are, for the most part, probably more excited to meet Travis and Mark. Let's just be real. And that he doesn't want to kind of hog the space or the time or the camera. And in this VIP experience, you know, Matt was kind of sitting off to his side and everybody's flocking to Mark and flocking to Travis. And when I looked over, no one was even talking to Skiba for a second. So I walk over, I'm talking to Skiba. There's some pictures of this, and I bust out the Heavens album. He was shocked by that. If you haven't heard that album, it's insane. So good. Crimson, we talked about for a little bit. I remember him saying he would not sign the Plus 44 album, which I wasn't going to ask him to sign. I think somebody else had a Plus 44 album, and they were passing it around, and Skiba was like, I'll sign the Blink one. I think he signed an Enema vinyl or something, and he was like, I'll sign this one, but I'm not going to sign the Plus 44 one, which is funny. And then, yeah, my buddy had a drum head that's insane. They signed like so huge. Skiba put a big smiley face on it. Really rad signature. My buddy had a couple drumsticks. And then what's crazy is like I look over and we probably had about 25 minutes. And it goes quick when you're in these situations and you're giddy and you've been looking forward to this. I mean, it's time stands still, but it also flies, which is crazy. And I'm getting ready to we're getting ready to be told, like 5-minute warning or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't even talked to Mark. Like, I've got to go over here and talk to Mark. And he was just sitting by the Nintendo chilling, and go over to him. And I busted out Short Bus. So I had the OG Blink vinyl, and I remember he was just shocked. And it was just the coolest fucking thing for me, man. Like with how much I care about Blink history and just the collectible side of things and how rare that is. I remember he opened it up, he looked at the inside, he flipped it over. Like, he genuinely looked like he hadn't seen one of these in a long ass time. So I'll never forget that. He signed that. And then he signed my Plus 44 album and my Take Off Your Pants and Jacket album. And then basically we were getting ready to have to leave. And I was like, oh shit, I got to get a picture with you, dude. And turn around, and I got a picture with Mark. Just he and I, which is kind of crazy. And that was that. Yeah. And I remember we were able to walk out to the car, and I remember just my buddy and I just being so fucking stoked, man. It was the best. Like, the coolest shit. It didn't matter how much it cost. It didn't matter how far we had to drive, how tired, how shitty our hotel was. Like, we just met Blink-182 and kicked it with them for 30 minutes. We weren't rushed. I personally got like the albums that have meant the fucking world to me signed, still, that I cherish so much to this day. I mean, if you ask me what I ask guest at the end of every interview, if there's one item you can save in a zombie apocalypse to keep safe forever and ever, to me, it would probably be that Take Off Your Pants and Jacket vinyl. If not that, it'd probably be the Plus 44 vinyl. So, I mean, just, I know it can sound silly, but just like core memories. Like, there's so much stuff that's happened between now and then that I have forgotten and couldn't recall if you mentioned it or showed me a picture of it. But I remember almost every single detail of that day, and just how excited I was and how rad it was. And that's a memory that I'll cherish forever. So that's that. That was the shit. I can't believe, looking back, I mean, it was around this time of year. I mean, looking back, I can't believe that's already been almost a decade. The California meet and greets have been a decade, or just shy of it, which is just mind-boggling to me. I mean, Bored to Death just turned 10 the other day. Still recall hearing that for the first time, and I was like blown away. I remember exactly where I was. So it's just kind of wild. Time is flying. And I think, to kind of put a wrap on this episode, I think if you have a chance to do this for a band or an artist or celebrity or whatever, because what we've discussed here can really be translated to, I mean, comic artists, wrestlers, celebrities. I mean, everybody's doing these cons now with photo ops and meet and greets and autograph signings and all that. Obviously, your budget and what you want to spend your money on is up to you. But if it's something that you've thought might be rad, or you've ever considered, I think you should go for it. I think you should do it. I think it'll be awesome. And I think at the end of the day, even if it's just kind of mediocre, or you're kind of like, I don't know about that, it's a rad memory. That's part of why I love signed items, or like a photo or a poster like that, is every time I walk by and I see that album, I totally remember being in that environment in that day, which is what I love about it. So I think you should do it. I think if you're in a band, you should offer it, or at least be cool to your fans and be somewhat accessible. I understand folks will have their own personal reasons on whether they want to or not, and however they feel about it is completely valid. I mean, it could just be you respect your own privacy and you don't want to do it. You don't want to be a zoo animal on display. You don't want to deal with it from a logistics perspective or just a commitment. It's all completely up to you. But I think at the end of the day, more times than not, it is a win-win. Okay, we have a last minute entry. We are in double overtime here, folks. We have one more entry. This one is coming from Liz Dynamite, and then we're going to call it. Let's see what Liz has to say.
Hi, this is Liz Dynamite on socials. My most memorable meet and greet experience was when I met Mark and Alex in 2019 at a Simple Creatures show. I had never met Mark before, and I have never been so starstruck in my life. I had the Marge Simpson as the Enema of the State Nurse pin on my bag because I had seen Mark wear it in some video, and he pointed at it and then at his jacket and was like, "Look, we have the same pin." He was all excited, and I was so nervous I couldn't even speak, and I was just like, uh-huh. I also had Mark sign my old Blink-182 t-shirt I got at Warped Tour in 1999, and poor Alex, I basically ignored him. My friend asked both of them to sign her Simple Creatures CD, and Alex was like, "Oh, I get to sign this too?" My bad, Alex, I barely knew who you were at the time. They were both so sweet, and you can tell they were tired and probably over it because I was the last person in line. But I got my picture with them, and it was really one of the best experiences that I have had as a fan.
Oh, I love that we got some Simple Creatures stories in here. I missed that band. I remember, 2019-ish, so it was alongside the Enema stuff, and Tom was back with Angels and Airwaves, and Simple Creatures had released either their first or both EPs at that point, and they were doing just a handful of shows, and there was not one anywhere near me. In fact, I just recalled asking at my Blink meet and greet, I asked one of the handlers, or one of Mark's right-hand men, I don't know if it was Gus or who, but I remember asking them if Simple Creatures was going to play any other shows, because at the time it was just a handful of shows in bigger cities and nowhere near me in the Midwest. And I remember him telling me, just wait, they're going to release some more shows, and then COVID hits and everything's ruined. And I remember looking at that VIP package and thinking about either flying out there or just trying to make a trip out of it because it looked rad. I think the ones that I recall, you literally met up with the band before the gig and made, I think, sock puppets together or something, just totally out of the box, something rad like that. And that's what I loved about Simple Creatures so much is they had said, basically, if it was happening with All Time Low or Blink, they would completely do the opposite. And you get that in the music, you got that with their performances. So that's a huge regret of mine, is not being able to see Simple Creatures live, and it's one of those projects that I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day again or not. It'll probably depend on the downtime, which we're kind of in at the moment, but we shall see. But yeah, I love hearing that, and then the fact that you're just completely starstruck. It's just so weird in those situations because in your mind, you've hyped it up to be the best thing ever. You've looked up to these people. They've been the soundtrack to your youth, to your life. They're in your ears, and then all of a sudden you're right in front of them. Mark and Tom are super tall, so it's just like so weird standing in front of them, and then to be just starstruck in the moment. And then poor Alex. It's like obviously some folks are probably there to meet him or be big All Time Low fans in the background or whatever. But my gosh, if you're standing in front of Mark and Alex, you're going to be talking to Mark. So that's pretty funny. I appreciate you sharing that. Glad I was able to sneak it in here at the end of the episode. This was so much fun. Again, I appreciate all the engagement on this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. We're going to call it there, and we will talk again very soon. Appreciate it.